you look at any of the top performing athletes, top performing CEOs, they are all doing that. Look at Virat Kohli, look at Oprah Winfrey, who's the owner of the media house Oprah.com, Mark Benioff, very well recognized Silicon Valley entrepreneur of Salesforce.com, he's a CEO there. Moving on to my third and the last segment for today's talk on my journey of playing the mind. And here, as some of you wanted to know more about the work that I did at Stanford, I started out on the mind side as a researcher, applying engineering to medicine. I was operating at the intersection of health and technology, and I got an opportunity to work and apply what I learned at electrical engineering, computer science, mechanical engineering to medicine. In the brain context, on cognitive systems, in artificial intelligence, on psychology, creating devices, using devices, collaborating with the Stanford Medical Center, the Stanford hospitals, the biodesign, and I was at Information Systems Lab back then. So how do you combine all of this from one discipline, intersect it with another discipline is where the magic starts to flow. That's how I look at it. So, and you can cover if you have more questions specifically on what that is. But really, what it ended up doing was I went through the process and took on various roles that you saw after the researcher, as a management consultant, working with PwC, serving 4500s in health and technology in the US, taking on roles with other companies and growing those companies and growing along the way. But there also came a time where I found a vision to help people be healthier and happier. But in the process, there was something that happened with me where I actually neglected my own health, and I had my own health challenges back then, particularly on the mental side of things, on the brain itself. Despite understanding so many things of the brain, still being taken up by that in that moment. And I ended up feeling low on energy, unhealthy, anxious, overthinking, sometimes depressive thoughts. But then was luckily able to overcome all that with the process and with the support. And I would say the biggest game changer was also meditation. Having the witness of what really is happening around you, because it takes you in a downward spiral of, having a disbelief in your own capabilities, and then taking you downward spiral, which is none of that is true, it's just a cook-up story of the mind. But you've got to witness it and want to separate it, which is why what I said, the meditation helps there a lot, and meditation also helps there a lot. So normalizing that is very important, because in today's time, the world that we live with so much amalgamation with social media and what you see, I see the influx of this is too much already early on. So you might feel very anxious, very stressed with what's happening, and then the mind starts to play and take you in directions that it's not intended to. So you've got to be aware of what the game is and what it potentially can do. And then we end up normalizing it fully, getting back to high energy, healthy, happy, confident, and all of the above. But in this process, few things that are super important in the mind is to building the mindset. The first important one is on resilience, which is like really embracing those challenges, not giving up, and rising from there. I actually gave a whole talk on that 3 weeks ago, so I'm not going to go much into that. It's also online, so you can look more into that. But it's essentially about not giving up and embracing. And I know so many people, the best of companies years, NVIDIA, which is a blazing company right now, with trillions of dollars in market capital. If they were not right now, we look at our own example in India, Israel. Right? They have gone through so many failures. If they gave up, we would not be so frequently and so inexpensively as well. So, and then I talk about being fearless. I think the fear of judgment and fear of failure is something that cripples a lot of people. It used to do it to me as well. But I'm here to tell you in retrospect, none of that is true. It's just a cook-up story of mine. Everything settles down. In that moment, you might be very stressed for a particular exam, whether it's a competitive exam or a school exam. Do your best, like we said. and let the rest flow. Let the outcome flow on itself. But you got to be aware that operating from that state of fear or the state of judgment is not the best strategy. Because eventually everything will balance out inside and now. But you got to stay present in this moment to do your best. And I can take on more questions if you have there. Going into other forms of mindset, and I continue on the list, like giving mindset as opposed to like, what do I get from this? As opposed to looking at everything like, what do I get by doing this particular thing? What can I give to this thing? If it's a relationship with your parents, with your friends, as opposed to like, okay, what do I get from these people? Can we have this mindset of what do I give these people? I know it's slightly different, it comes with time, but being aware really helps. Now, growth mindset as opposed to a fixed mindset. So a fixed mindset is where you are thinking that you don't have the capability, maybe you haven't done this enough, you haven't figured this out, but it doesn't mean that you won't be able to. It's just you haven't done it yet, which is the other way of looking at from the growth mindset. I haven't been in those situations, but I can figure this out. I just haven't been exposed to it yet. And Carol, who's a psychologist, also talks about growth mindset. Then there's this, what we started with, gratitude mindset, which is a whole door to opening up luck and multiple other things. But simple practice of being in gratitude mode, gratitude mindset, abundance mindset, is the way I look at life in terms of building the mind. It didn't even stop there. From that experience I shared with you, embracing that challenge, I went on to take it further and really the journey that I was telling you about of the health coaching of Nitin Dua. I have developed a framework around holistic, integral, preventative approach to health and well-being, which not only encompasses the mental side of it, but also the physical, the social, the nutrition, the sleep, the financial, work, and many more other such pillars. I've talked about this again in a talk which is recorded, so if you have it, please back up the link. You can talk, but each of these are very important fundamental pillars. And one thing I want to leave you with is, it might look early for you, but start prioritizing your health. That is something that you've got to do. It takes care of everything else. You've got to have the foundation strong. When you create a building, if the foundations are weak, when it comes time to test, it falls. So you've got to really have a solid foundation to do that. Which is why you got to at least prioritize your health every single day. And in various elements, what do you eat, what do you consume, what do you work out on, do you spend time meditating or other forms, how do you socialize with your friends, with your parents, the quality of sleep that you have every day, plans and everything else will follow when you start getting into work track, and many other deeper pillars that you unlock as time progresses. But this is the thing that's out there. And it's WIP, it's a work in progress. So we talked a lot about the celebrating and meditation as well. So I think one thing I do want to ask you is what's common between the three journeys? We'll find out as we unlock. Meditation is something that I find is a common pattern that helps in all of these journeys. Whether it's the journey of evolution, it's the journey of building, it's a tool that really helps in each of these journeys. And it's just not me saying that. You look at any of the top performing athletes, top performing CEOs, they are all doing that. Look at Virat Kohli, look at Oprah Winfrey, who's the owner of the media house Oprah.com, Mark Benioff, very well recognized Silicon Valley entrepreneur of Salesforce.com, he's a CEO there. And Virat Kohli, a lot of us know. And you pick any other top elite player, they are practicing in some form or another. So there is a lot of merit in it. Through the WIP that I shared, even if I look at this guy who I was able to help, he looks so masculine. He's a master trainer, he's not a bodybuilder himself, he's also a master trainer. So many bodybuilders, so many gym trainers who are all focusing on physical health. And he's saying that it's only now I've actually transformed myself from within by looking at the psychological and mental aspects of the life. I'll just conclude finally by quoting my own father who's sitting with me here and use his lines. I use Steve Jobs, I use Gandhi's, and here's a good way to sum it all up. देख कर डरते रहोगे कि दूर है मंजिल बहुत, रास्ते की मुश्किलें त्रिशूल बनती जाएंगी, तुम उठो संकल्प लेकर, आसमान झुक जाएगा, हर कदम पर मुश्किलें फूल बनती जाएंगी. This is my father Manolal Dua, and I think it sums up what we said previously. And figure out the manzil, which is where we are trying to go. We'll have challenges along the way, we'll fail, we'll reflect, we'll grow. We'll have the belief system which is sankalp, and we'll keep progressing. Every single day we take the action. And this is a common thing with that, experiencing the meditation, concluding with it, that it ends up building all these journeys, and I hope it does for you. And it just does not even stop at the mind. Once you practice enough, it goes beyond the mind. And if you're curious to know more, like there is, as I was pointing out, there is recordings on this channel that you can do on YouTube, and you can find out. This is better than myself, like who was so obese back in the day, but really worked out my own health, to get enough on this side. So you got to really, it really ups the game in every dimension of your life. Not just isolating it for itself. Even the work that you're doing, it really ups and you look to transforming yourself from within. And now, the final thing, I mean, in my last keynote, somebody really got a Q&A like this. Q&A was looked at, when in the battlefield, Krishna was answering patiently Arjuna's questions. I really felt it was very therapeutic in that sense to answer your deepest questions of the mind. And at this point, I will open up the floor for questions that you have. And I'll conclude with saying thank you to each one of you for your presence.
I welcome hearing from all of you on your comments, on your suggestions, on your feedback, and let me know what else you want to hear more on. If you found value on our channel Health with Nitin Dua through any of our videos, including this one, do consider sharing, subscribing. Until I see you in the next video, this is Nitin Dua, serving you with love.